The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on another episode of The Lockup. With me today, we have Timber Pro Wrestling wrestler, co-founder, promoter, CEO, Cody Campbell. How are you doing this evening?
Another beautiful night. Sarah, how are you tonight?
I am fantastic. Winding down my night here on the East Coast. It's just starting to get dark, so thanks for finally cooling down from the hot weather.
Yes.
All right. So tell us now, you are one of the co-founders for Timber Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
Tell us, what is it like within the past year, starting your own promotion? How was that?
Being a new promotion, it's been a 3-year process started by me and another guy known as Josh Russell, but it turned into a foursome when it was me, Josh, Taylor, and Steve. And due to personal discrepancies and financial disputes, we've had to, move on from Taylor, and we brought on Brad, who's, a Buckle Bump,
Yes.
member. And we also brought in Kikyo. She's a huge asset, highly underrated wrestler from the Pacific Northwest. She's a, I believe, 13-year veteran now. She's, been to Glamour, Shimmer, all over the,
Wow.
the world. So it's crazy.
Yeah, we'll have to get her on here sometime too.
Oh, most definitely.
She's got some stories.
She wanted to be on here tonight, but she has her shoot job, her day-to-day job, and sadly she couldn't make it. But I'm here. I the youngest member of the ownership team is here, and I'm ready to answer in all questions.
Yeah, the shoot jobs, darn them for getting in the way of all the pro wrestling love.
Oh, definitely. I think the difference between pro wrestling and independent pro wrestling is we all have to work day-to-day jobs as independent contractors is what they call us. And then you look at pro wrestlers like Roman Reigns and Goldberg and guys like that, they live off of wrestling. So there's a huge difference when you have to work a day-to-day job, train 2 to 3 times a week, and then wrestle every weekend hoping you get spotted by one of the big names.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, congratulations, finally achieving 1,000 followers, within a year. That's fantastic.
Thank you. It's a huge achievement, and we honestly couldn't have done it with the whole Timber Pro Wrestling family as a whole. The talent definitely helped, push the product on social media, and especially guys like Rashad Tyson, Rook Kelly, Kikyo, who's also a talent we use. And, if you've probably heard of the talent Kid Bandit.
Oh, yes. Yep.
They have been amazing for us. We've used them in one show, and we're bringing them back in September for our anniversary show against our champion, King Cassidy, if he wins against Chase James this August. So pending that match. But since we brought Kid in, they have nonstop shared our content, blasted it out there. And I can honestly say probably 500 of the past followers have probably come from them alone.
Wow, that's great to hear.
Yeah. So bringing them in was a huge asset that we didn't think of at first, because we're like, oh, just another social media wrestler, so they'll get us some hype, but we didn't think anything about what they've done for us in the long run.
That kind of stuff in the long run, the additional followers, when it goes beyond what you expect, that pays for it, tenfold.
Oh, definitely. Because I think, we started in the COVID era. We didn't have any shows during COVID, but we started promoting ourselves in about late 2020, early 2021. And I remember when me and Josh were talking 2019, we were like, look, if we do it right and we just sit and wait during COVID, I think we could really start something. And I wouldn't say it's just the talent either that's helped us get to where we are. We went to a small town known as Sultan, and we met up with a guy named David Moon, who's our head of production, and he works for Sultan High School, and he leads the AV club, whatever the production clubs are called. And with their help, they helped us secure a venue right next door town called Startup Sultan. Same thing, but the venue is just a beautiful ECW vibe, and the community that's embraced us, coming to that place, because that venue is a historical venue for that community. So
Nice.
creating a whole new event, like wrestling, was a huge issue for them at first, but then they saw our product, and I'm saying we probably gained more and more walk-in crowd by the show, and that's all thanks to the community spreading the word of us. We haven't been able to produce posters as much as we'd like to go and share physical stuff, but if we could, I guarantee you we'd sell the place out just from that community alone.
Nice. Yeah, Pacific Northwest definitely has a great indie wrestling feeling to it.
Oh, definitely. And a huge thanks goes to Defy, because they've produced guys like Swerve and Darby Allin, and we've had guys come in like Moxley and Eddie Kingston's been coming in the past couple months up here to Washington, and having him put the Washington State crowd over is just a huge thing for us. And it's not only benefited Defy, it's helped SOS Pro Wrestling, it's helped Whack Pro, it's helped CPW, it's helped TPW, it's helped us all. What's nice is we're coming back to where it's like a territory system, where it was pre Vince McMahon Jr., but we're all helping each other as much as we can, to the point where we want to.
Yeah. When you got communities who are willing to work together, it's beneficial to everybody.
Oh, most definitely. And if we don't help each other out, then we're all going to suffer in the long run, because I know there's been a few promotions that I've had to fold because they couldn't get support from other promotions, because if you can't use guys from other promotions, you're going to fall.
Yep. So tell me, what was it like? You had this dream, you get it going. What's it like going up to that first show for Timber Pro Wrestling?
Leading up to the first show was probably one of the most stressful months of my life, because the last minute we had to find a venue, because we didn't have the venue we were at now. So we were calling people back and forth trying to find a venue in the Sultan area, because we wanted to be there since day one. It's a small town community. We're known as Timber Pro Wrestling. We wanted to find a town that's nearest us, that's built off of logging. So we found our friend Trevor, and he hooked us up with his work at the Boys and Girls Club. And then we partnered with a promotion that we don't partner with anymore, but we're very thankful for what they helped us lead to. And then we called guys from Oregon, and we tried to get guys from British Columbia, but the borders were still closed at the time. And so we just, buckled down and got what we could. And honestly, for the first show, we were pretty impressed with what we did, but we knew we had to do better, because promoting was a huge factor that we had no idea of what to do. And I think if we would have sat back and, promoted it 2 months instead of 1 month like we did, we would have exceeded our expectations. But we exceeded what we thought, because we only thought we were going to get like 5 people total, and we got 20. So I mean, we started off better than we hoped.
And of course, it only goes up from there. You gain experience and what works, what doesn't work. So,
and we've had to move on from talent from that first and second shows, but since then, we've had people calling us from all over wanting to come in, and we had a group over in the East Coast call us, and they're like, "Oh, we'd love to, come on over and check you guys out." And we're like, that's insane, and East Coast place wants to come check us out. So
Great. Word's getting out.
yep, exactly. And we couldn't be more thankful for who's ever spreading the word about us.
So now, we talked a little bit about, Timber Pro Wrestling, that's starting up. Let's talk about Cody Campbell, the wrestler. When did you get into wrestling? Who are some of your early favorites?
So I got into wrestling when I was about 5, but my very first show, I went to WrestleMania 19 with my uncle. I got to see Stone Cold versus The Rock. I got to see Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio. Chris Benoit, such a taboo subject, but I got to see him perform live, and to me, he's still the greatest wrestler of all time. I don't care what anyone says. I it's very hard to separate, what happened outside the ring with his wife and son, rest in peace. But
Yes.
when you look at the wrestler was, second to none, the hardest worker out there. And my second favorite, I wear the tattoo on my sleeve. It's Jeff Hardy. I'm a huge fan of his, and I pray for him every night. That I hope he gets through his demons, and
Yes.
yeah. So those are my early wrestlers. But when I first got into it, I was 18 wrestling. I went to the Buddy Wade Academy before he passed away, and that was 2016. And I left for college stupidly because I thought, oh, I could be a college kid. No, if you're in wrestling, you should stick to wrestling. And I made that mistake, and I came back for spring break, and Buddy tragically passed away, from a heart attack, I believe, and hardest thing I ever witnessed. But I think the thing is, if I would have stayed in, I probably would have, become a wrestler instead of backstage. But I took time off, didn't really want to wrestle, so I helped out as ring crew. I helped out, being the bellboy, grabbing gear, and then I met up with Josh at Without a Cause Pro Wrestling, which is just based in Everett, and we were talking, and I was like, everyone's got a bump card. I've had a few major injuries in my life, and so I've decided, I'm going to take time away from wrestling, and I'm going to focus mainly on backstage work and building my brand and helping other promotions where they need to be helped, and that's where I'm at now.
Nice. So of all the backstage, roles, what's your favorite to do?
Honestly, I love working as like an interviewer type, or being on a ring announcing. But if I'm working backstage, I love doing camera. I love helping tell them where to go, set them up, and I help David out when he needs help, and that's what I like. I love production.
Nice. Yeah, I get the, it's a great thing to do, working the productions type stuff. It's so you can, help control, see what the people see it from your point of view.
Exactly. And something we've learned is if we don't like it, majority of the time the crowd isn't going to like what we're putting out there, through the production. So we all, the 5 owners, try to get in there and put our opinions to it, but we're not going to like screw with it too much if we're getting enough draws from it.
Now, as far as your wrestling, who did you ever take a look at and say, this is who I want to model my wrestling career after? Was it the Jeff Hardy that kind of made you say, this is who I want to be like?
See, I think if I wanted to model myself after anybody, it would have been Chris Benoit or Kurt Angle, because I was a very skilled amateur wrestler up until I had a knee injury in high school, and then I was like, I'm done doing amateur wrestling for the time being, and so I was like, if I'm going to style after anyone, it would be those two, because they're very hardworking. It's very grounded pound. I'm not the biggest fan of high flying techniques, but I'll take it if someone wants to give it, sort of thing. So
sure. So let's talk about the importance also of a good wrestling school. We've seen you share stuff from Oregon Pro Wrestling School. So what's the importance of having a good school like them, or any good wrestling school?
I think the major benefit of having a good school such as Oregon Pro or our other main partner, I would say, would be Dragon Xplex, which is Without Causes School just up in Everett. And having those two schools produce the type of talent they've been producing has been huge for us. It gives us good local new talent to show the crowd. It helps us have students, give us ring crew and give us backstage help, so we're not running around with our heads cut off, just five of us, because I'm out there ring announcing. Kikio's a talent, so she's usually wrestling. Brad's a referee, so he's usually middle of the ring. Josh is on, commentary, and Steve's our, day-to-day commissioner. So we're all, working jobs, and then based off of that, we're doing jobs on the backside of that, backstage. So it's a never-ending cycle.
Oh yeah, definitely. So as far as like some of the talent that you've got, who can you talk about? We talked about Kid Bandit a little bit. Who else do you guys feature a lot in Timber Pro that people should be on the lookout for?
Tony Tornado. He's a hotshot rookie we brought in from Dragon Xplex. His he was only 7 matches into his career when he first debuted with us, and one of our shows he went an accidental 30 minutes with Brooke Kelly, who's another huge asset who you should keep an eye out for. They accidentally went 30 minutes, and when they were only supposed to go 15, and watching those two put out a lights out match was something spectacular. Another couple wrestlers to look out for would be Chase James. He's based out of Spokane, and he helps run Relentless Wrestling, and he's another smart, talented, underappreciated guy who I absolutely adore. And then I think another couple guys would be Rashad Tyson, John Doe, and let's see, Caden Cassidy, our champion, because Caden is a guy who's a 10-year vet, I believe, and he's out Oregon. He's been all over. He was helped trained in, he was his manager was Kevin Sullivan for a few years. So that's pretty big to have Kevin Sullivan, under your wing. And I think another guy that I would look out for is our former champion, Chris Brady. I think he's a very talented guy. I think he should be on Impact, AEW, or WWE at some point, because it based off of talent alone, he's got it. I mean, he's got mic work, he's got ring skills, he knows how to draw to a crowd, he knows how to hate a crowd. So, but when you got a multi-tool, talented guy like Chris Brady, the sky is the limit. And I mean, we're bringing in his trainer Sin Bodhi in September to face him, and that's going to be a huge match. Those two are very, very skilled athletes, and Sin Bodhi was a former WWE guy, so it's going to be insane to watch these two go after each other.
You definitely have to keep an eye out for him and his bright future.
Oh yeah.
So now, as far as expansions for Timber Pro, do you guys have any plans? I know you guys work mainly in one area. Is there any plans to expand, outward a little bit to shows to other cities?
We would love our goal, and I'm saying this as our goal because it's been in talks. We would love to have a monthly Friday show along with our monthly Saturday show in Seattle, where it'd be an 18+ show. We'd serve alcohol to the 21 and overs, and we'd probably have live music, and we'd just make it a rock and dime. There's not really a live show in Seattle that's drawing besides Seattle, and even then they're not in Seattle all the time. They're running in California sometimes, they're running in Olympia, so it all depends on the scheduling, but we would definitely like to look into expanding to Seattle at some point. We've talked about possibly a Montana expansion because there's not really any promotions out there, and we believe we could bring the Timber Flair out there and they'd love it. So pending financials and partnerships, we'll see what happens.
Of course. Now what about streaming? Any plans for streaming?
We're looking to have Twitch before the end of year 2, which will be September 11th of 2023. And then we're going to definitely be YouTube live around the next couple months. We're going, hopefully get Discord going or something. Just get multi-platforms out there. We're trying to be in talks with IWTV, but we'll see what happens. We're only a year deep, so.
Right. Well, definitely keep us in the loop because we'll definitely, feature you guys as much as possible as well.
And I wanted to thank you guys for sponsoring us. Since show number 2, it's been an honor working with you guys. We love your product, and I definitely gotta say, everyone who's watching or not watching, support Buckle Bomb Entertainment. They are amazing.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. It's great to have a great many working relationships.
Oh, definitely. You guys were the first sponsor to jump on with us, and we couldn't be more thankful for it.
Well, of course, we have Brad, to thank for being our middleman, of course.
Oh, definitely. Brad was like, "Oh, you guys need a sponsor? Shoot, here's these guys." And we're like, "Oh, reel them in.
Definitely. Okay, well, as we wrap things up here, we got a little game we like to play called the Electric Chair. Just kind of 6 rapid-fire questions. Just spit out the first answer that comes to mind. Some will be wrestling related, some will not be.
All right.
So question 1, what is the best chip flavor around?
Spicy nacho.
Nice. Who's your favorite commentator to listen to?
Pat McAfee. And that's just because I've been a fan of his since he was an NFL punter with the Colts. And I was actually a fan of his when he was playing with Pat White down in West Virginia. So go Pat.
He definitely brings an energy to the commentating team.
I can't wait to watch him kick Baron Corbin's ass. He's one of the guys that surprised me, being an in-ring guy after, jumping on commentary. Same with Logan Paul being a celebrity. He was another talented guy that I was surprised about.
Both of those guys, throwing Bad Bunny in there as well, surprisingly for athleticism.
And then if we're going to throw anybody else in, Johnny Knoxville just off of comedy alone was a great match.
Yeah. That was a great match. If you take it for just comedy aspect, that was a great match.
And that's what you got to take it for. Even Sami Zayn will tell you that.
And, this whole, thing with McAfee and Corbin, I actually didn't realize Corbin played for the Colts as well.
Oh, yes. I knew that, but I didn't realize because, they use shoot names and everything. So I was like, I had to put face to name because I played with the Colts when they were playing together and I had no idea.
Learn something new every day.
Exactly.
All right. So question 3, what would be an arena that you'd love to main event at?
If I was to main event, I'd definitely say the old ECW arena in Philadelphia. I think that would be just the coolest. I heard it's amazing, audio, and it's just a grungy look, and that's what Seattle's all about. So I'd love to go down there and bring the Seattle punch to there.
Yes. What is the best road trip snack?
Now you're asking the tough questions. I'd have to say a Mr. Good Bar. I like those, or Charleston Chews.
It's always a special treat when you see the full size, Mr. Good Bars.
Yeah.
Normally you only saw them as a kid, the little Hershey miniatures around Halloween.
Yep.
What is one gimmick match that we either A, need more of, or B, need less of?
B, I'm going to go with B, need less of, and it's pole matches. Anything on a pole match. That I think that's just dumb.
Yeah.
And, I don't agree a lot with, certain people, but one thing I agree on with Jim Cornette definitely is pole matches have ruined wrestling to a certain extent because it's like, what's the legitimate point of having something on a pole?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Vince Russo, for that.
Yes.
All right, and the final question. Pro wrestling needs more blank.
Acceptance. I still to this day, it's 2022. Everyone's got to get along and shut the hell up. We're not in high school anymore. I hate to sound like I'm some right-wing nut, but it's like we can't be soft. We got to move on, get over old stuff, and bond. We got to be friends again, because if we want to succeed, it's got to be together, not apart.
And to add to that, let's all stop hating one company or another. Let's all just watch wrestling and enjoy it.
If you watch, AEW, you watch AEW. If you watch WWE, you watch WWE. But don't tell someone that's not a legitimate product to watch, because any wrestling is wrestling to them.
Agree. Well, thank you, Cody, for joining us. Where can people find more on you or Timber Pro Wrestling if they want to find more?
My Instagram is Cody Campbell .timberpro CEO. My YouTube, well, I don't have a YouTube, but follow the Timber Pro YouTube at Timber Pro Wrestling. Same with the Facebook. Instagram is TPW Wrestling, and so on and so forth. We're pretty simple to find. Just look up Timber Pro Wrestling, and we're the first thing to pop up. And if you want a merchandise, my hat, is in the washer right now, but any Timber Pro Wrestling merchandise is at brainbustertees.com/Timber Pro Wrestling, and you can get that today now.
Great. And we will throw all the links down in the YouTube video description and everywhere else. Cody, thank you for joining us. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a great night.
Thanks.